Caitlin Clark's value to the WNBA is being highly exaggerated. Listen to Veejay, Huskey and Steve Hartman of Fox Sports Weekends discuss the burgeoning WNBA Rookie of the Year race between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, as the conversation devolved into a debate on how valuable Clark actually is to the league. Hartman called Clark the most valuable player in league history and a generational fire starter to a WNBA that had previously appeared flameless for 3 decades. Huskey, however, argued that Clark's value only resides within her own brand and confined to her own franchise, saying the blistering hype and popularity around the WNBA this season has never been about the league, but simply fascination for Clark herself and her Hollywood rivalry with Angel Reese. Huskey says Fever games may be breaking TV and attendance ratings every week, but says the rest of the teams in the WNBA aren't gaining any value from Clark as a disconnected entity. Check out the segment below as Huskey details why he thinks this is going to be a short-lived boost in attention and hoopla for the WNBA, saying that the Caitlin Clark phenomenon has little to do with blossoming interest in the sport as a whole and is more of a self-serving social experiment for Clark's career. Steve Hartman: if you're actually talking about who is the most valuable player in the WNBA, it should unanimously be Caitlin Clark because she puts butts in seats. Value to the WNBA means you're one that is making us money. It doesn't necessarily mean you're the best player, but it means you're the most valuable player, and no one has ever exemplified value to a league more than Caitlin Clark. Veejay, Huskey: the value to the league thing I punch back at. She's valuable to the Fever. She hasn't been valuable to the league. Hartman: she hasn't been valuable to the league? Huskey: the value to the league is a false narrative, so it looks like she's really helping build the league. Go look at the ratings. The Fever games are what people are watching. People aren't really watching all these other games. Go look at the disparity between the ratings in the Fever games and all the other games. Can't tell me she is a value to the league when she's a value to the Fever and her brand. Which is fine, she can be that, but this narrative that she's a value to the league. How many people are watching the Mystic games? Hartman: how many people were talking about the WNBA before she arrived? Huskey: they're not talking about the WNBA, they're talking about her and Angel Reese. They're not talking about the league. If that were the case, we'd be talking about the Liberty. We'd be talking about Brianna Stewart. We'd be talking about Aja Wilson. Or not. Hartman: the bottom line is that they're filling arenas. Maybe there isn't the full carryover to the rest of the league because people that are sampling the WNBA are seeing a lot of what you just said with Angel Reese. She's shooting 41% as a big. That seems impossible when most of your shots are literally under the basket. If you watch this league for the first time, you realize the sell on the women's game is that they play the fundamental game well. They play below the rim. It's not all the spectacular, and they realize that they don't shoot all that well. You see blown layups, you see the kind of shots missed in the WNBA, that if it were to happen in the NBA, you'd be out of the league. You can't play in the NBA if you can't make that shot, and that's commonplace in the WNBA. You can talk about three-point shooting. Right now, Caitlin Clark is barely over 30%, 332. Everyone seems to be caught up on this Caitlin Clark thing. I'm gonna check it out because everyone else is. Whether that is gone to have any residual effects, I don't know. Right now, she is the most valuable player in this league. She might not even be a top 25 player in this league, but in terms of her value to this league, they have been given an opportunity that they've never had before and may never have again. Huskey: I look at the ratings. People aren't watching other games, so I'm trying to figure out what this value is. To the Fever, to her brand, yes. And then you have to have a villain, so Angel Reese is the villain, and everybody is looking at the Chicago sky. It's either her or Angel. That is who people are talking about. The best team in the league is the New York Liberty. Without looking it up, can any radio guy name me 3 starters off their offense? We want to create this narrative that I just don't agree with. I'm just looking at the facts and the figures, and when I look at the Fever games and then I look at the ratings for the rest of the league, not including the Fever or the Sky, That's when I go, oh, where is this lead value coming from? They still can't draw 7,000 if it's not Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark.